The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists, Dan Eve, the Crypto Raptor.
Hello there. Sorry, mute. My bad.
Victoria Jones from Satoshi's Page.
Bonsoir, mes amis, from France.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one. Bitcoin rallies more than 7% as court sides with Grayscale over the SEC in crypto ETF case. As the court said, Grayscale's lawsuit against the SEC has been closely watched by investors, and the denial of Grayscale's proposal was arbitrary and capricious. The commission failed to adequately explain why it approved the listing of two Bitcoin future ETPs, but not Grayscale's proposed Bitcoin ETP, the court said in the ruling. In the absence of a coherent explanation, this unlike regulatory treatment of like products is unlawful. We therefore grant Grayscale's petition for review and vacate the commission's order. As everyone has said, the likeliness of this SEC overturn and this ETF being approved means that other Bitcoin ETFs, including BlackRock's, who's filed in late June, as well as Fidelity, WisdomTree, Van Eyck, and Invesco, as well as others, may be approved. Dan, it may be the season of Bitcoin ETFs. What do you think about the SEC's decision, especially their incredible paragraph that echoes the exact same things that we said on this show?
Like, as much as it's long overdue, right? That a court case going really in favor of a crypto company, and they brought up in the article the reason. Well, they pointed out that the other ETFs got approved and were rejected, and the whole point of it was about the underlying asset, right? The issues that the SEC had was about Bitcoin that could be manipulated, and the price, etc., could be manipulated for exchanges. But then surely the same reasoning happens with a futures contract. You're still affected by the underlying asset if there is manipulation going. So the fact that this is swinging in Grayscale's favor, I think, is very positive overall. Whether they get their spot ETF before BlackRock, obviously it's in the appeals, right? But there's still a chance that technically, this could drag on and BlackRock end up getting theirs before Grayscale. And obviously Grayscale, they're more a full-on crypto company, whereas obviously BlackRock's been around for years, and I would hate for it to play into the hands of the existing financial infrastructure that gets there first, rather than actually awarding the first Bitcoin spot ETF to an actual crypto Bitcoin company. So ultimately, I think it's good. Obviously, there's people that still think that ETFs and spot ETFs are particularly bad for Bitcoin, but it allows people to get exposure. And we've said this before: once they get exposure to Bitcoin, they would much rather actually learn about Bitcoin and then hopefully end up holding their own. If they entrust themselves holding their own destiny with their own private keys. So overall, really positive, although the gains that they're talking about in that article have been kind of paired off. So over the last 7 days, we're up like 0.19%. 0.18. I should have said that slightly quicker. So it did pump, say, 7% or something, but it's gone straight back down. Whether this is going to be a puncture hole in the armor of the SEC in general, and there are other court cases against Coinbase, against Bittrex, against Binance, and whether they're perhaps misusing their power to pick on cryptocurrency companies, that remains an open book at the moment. I'd like to see more decisions going against the SEC because they seem to be a bit overbearing recently. And as we said, Gary, Gensler's now he's hot on AI and says that crypto is not even a thing. Bitcoin's not even worth thinking about right now. So that's going to give Bitcoin and crypto companies a bit more breathing space. So positive overall, I believe.
Dan, I think you're right. I think that Grayscale might win the court case, but BlackRock will get the ETF first. Or Grayscale could be approved, and then a week later, or 2 weeks later, suddenly BlackRock enters the scene. It does seem like every way is being cleared for their entry. Everyone has said that, this is the company, this is the massive force that will not be stopped. And it's great to see the SEC be ruled against here by the judge, by the court. I definitely appreciated the paragraph where they said it was capricious, and they said they didn't even understand their ruling or their logic for treating these like projects in an unlike way. As we've said before, having the futures ETFs but not having the spot ETF, not only did it not make sense from an equality perspective, it also seems like they were specifically siding against Bitcoin, allowing people to bet against Bitcoin with a futures market, but not to bet for Bitcoin with a spot market. It does look like that's finally going to be solved. Victoria Jones, what do you think about the ETF decision by the court and the likelihood of other future ETFs?
Yeah, I think they're stuck between a bit like a rock and a hard place, aren't they, really? Because, the thing about Bitcoin is it's an asset they've never had to deal with before. And we all know it's been designed to be a disruptor of the existing financial system. And, the people who organize the financial system understand this. And so they understand the danger of a spot ETF. A future ETF is different because you're not having to the actual point, but the fact that Bitcoin are limited in supply is a problem. And so I think they're doing the best they can to resist it as much as possible. But we're in the then fight you state, and they're going to lose this battle, and we all knew to lose this battle because the game theory is completely stacked against them. This completely disrupts the whole financial system, and a spot ETF would be very dangerous to the rest of the financial system due to the limited supply and the fact that people can keep it in their own possession. Unlike a gold ETF, one of the reasons it worked was because gold was managed by the banks. People very rarely held it in their own possession, but of course that's not the case with Bitcoin. So, it's very interesting the way this is going to play out. Obviously, the court's hands are tied. Once they make a ruling like this, then if it's unfair to not allow them a spot ETF when they've already got a futures ETF, then it's going to be unfair to stop other people having a spot ETF. And the next few months could be very interesting.
I do think you're right. I think the other ETFs will be approved, and they have little choice now, given the simplicity of the ruling and the ridiculousness of what they had previously held against the companies. I do think that we'll see these ETFs. And I saw some kind of meme on the internet, I think it was Andreas or something, and they were talking about Bitcoin, and they were like, of course it will be valuable. This is the world's first. And it was like all these different words together. It was like decentralized, internet money, no middleman, like all these different things. And you can understand how the regulators have no way of understanding this. They've never seen anything like this before, a true Swiss Army knife of possibilities. And if they allow it to get through, if they allow it to get into their systems, as we said many times before about the Trojan horse, they'll never get it out. We've already seen as they're trying to develop these CBDCs, it's because they see the value of Bitcoin, the value of having a asset that they can send around that isn't controlled by anyone, that operates 24/7, 365, a heck of a lot faster than the old SWIFT system and other systems that they're using to send money around, especially the systems that the Federal Reserve uses to supply the various banks. Moving on to the exit question, Dan, Eve, do you think this is it? Are we about to see all the Bitcoin ETFs that we could ever want approved?
Yeah, I think the US is finally going to follow suit. Europe agreed their first was it the Jacobi ETF and the first European spot Bitcoin ETF. So I think the US markets the US people need access to Bitcoin, the normies via their 401ks and all that stuff. So I think the flood is coming. Brace yourselves for the flood. Maybe
Victoria Jones, is it time for the Bitcoin ETF madness?
It certainly looks like it. I don't think the first hole in the dam has been broken. It's all downhill from here. It'll be interesting to see.
Excellent. Moving on to issue 2. Why does Zoom hide the screen share button? Issue 2. X, i.e. Twitter, and it's funny because the company is even called Twitter Payments. X Payments just sounds dirty. Obtains a license to store, transfer, and trade Bitcoin and crypto. Yes, we've talked about it before. Elon Musk and his incredible dreams for X.com, the internet's bank, merged with PayPal, drummed out of the company after he wanted to rename it PayPal X. And now he's back again and he's bought Twitter, mainly just to get the eyeballs, mainly just to get the network effect. But now he's saying that they might transfer, store, and trade Bitcoin and crypto. Victoria Jones, what do you think about X.com and their ambitions to become the everything app?
Well, I think anyone who's been following the story with Twitter is not at all surprised. I mean, we all know that he holds Bitcoin on the balance sheet of his companies. He's one of the big holders, along with Michael Saylor. He's not been as vocal about promoting Bitcoin as some of the others. I mean, he's much more vocal about Dogecoin. At one point he was indicating to all his followers that the payment network he would use would make Dogecoin. But anyone who understands technology realizes that that makes no sense. If you want to be something that's connected into the rest of the global network, you have to use something that the rest of the global network recognizes as money. So, Bitcoin makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't you really? I mean, I think the thing I observe about Elon Musk is he just likes to create a sensation from time to time, and throw people for a loop and point them in a different direction. I think he just likes to test his audience. But if you're a thinking person, you kind of go, yeah, that's not going to work. So I think he's just done that again. It doesn't surprise me at all that he's ended up with Bitcoin. I think all of us knew that was the most likely answer at the end of the day.
Dan, Eve, we've wanted Twitter to be a Bitcoin wallet for a long time, whether it was with tipping and apps like ChangeTip or perhaps the Lightning Network being integrated into Twitter. And of course, like Victoria says, Elon's ridiculous love for Dogecoin, which would be funny if it didn't cause so many people to lose money. What do you think, Dan, about his new plans for X.com and Bitcoin and crypto wallets?
Well, it was kind of inevitable that the Twitter was kind of leaning on that sort of pathway, right? Jack obviously being quite a big Bitcoin connoisseur, had done some groundwork into it at least, and probably put the thought into Elon's head, right, about the fact that he could be using it as a payments network. And as you said, buying something that's already got a network effect is going to help you roll out your amazing all-in-one app, whoever you are. So for him, it seems like a logical purchase. Whether he does something crazy and makes Dogecoin the tipping sort of network or whatever, obviously I think I'd like to see Lightning. Maybe he'll try a is it WorldCoin? Yeah, the old Chat GPT, and make his own token or something like that. Although I hope not. I think the likelihood that he will use like Lightning on Dogecoin is probably more likely than him making a token, to be honest. But I wouldn't put it past him, as the whole Sam Altman and the WorldCoin completely came out of the blue, and it just made me think how tacky Chat GPT suddenly got. Not Chat GPT, but the fact that they're doing the guy who behind Chat GPT made a token. I mean, it just seems so tacky. But yeah, this is going to get the normies in, right? Twitter's got half a billion users. I'm sure a lot of them don't use, the vast majority don't use cryptocurrency in any way. So this is a good way for onboarding, a significant portion of the planet via an app that they already use day in, day out. Yeah, just hope it's not something crazy like a token, and it will be its actual own, a usage of Lightning Network rather than token or Dogecoin or something.
Dogecoin would be great. They could even use a backup database and not actually use Dogecoin in the classic change tip style. Or Dan has a good point. Xcoin, X.coin. I don't know. People need to keep an eye out for this. Elon could create his own currency. What a great way that would be to earn money and raise funds. Moving on to the exit question. Will X.com's Everything app work? Do you want an Everything app? Victoria Jones joining us by audio. Will it work?
Sorry, I missed the question. Say that again.
Will Elon Musk's Everything app work? Would you use it? Do you want to use the Everything app?
I think it's difficult to tell really until you actually see what he's produced. There are lots of other people working on a similar kind of concept. Obviously, you've got Nodal, which people can already use as a form of exchanging payments. I know it's still in its infancy and it's trying to be developed, and so a lot of Bitcoiners are already working on that kind of technology. So it's difficult to say. I mean, he needs to get his skates on, really. Obviously, he would have been in a position when Jack Dorsey still owned Twitter with a lot of capital in the company to invest in it. But of course, Elon's struggling a little bit because he's not in the same position. He spent a lot buying Twitter. He's still got Tesla to look after. Most of his businesses are operating from a big debt position, I understand, rather than a big cash position. So a lot depends on how I think he wants to invest in this. But yeah, he's a little bit behind the curve. Other people, I think, are already working on similar concepts. And, obviously he's working with Twitter, which already has a fairly good reputation, but a bit of that's been damaged. If he can sustain that, then, maybe he'll have a good product. But yeah, I'd say he's not the first person to have these ideas. A lot depends on how he delivers them, really.
It's amazing how Musk has damaged Twitter, his own reputation, and more importantly, his $40 billion investment with these obvious mistakes like getting involved in politics, allowing more hate speech on the platform, firing all of the moderators, and now his new plan to remove the block button, which right now, if someone comes on your post and starts writing negative things, you can block them. Now they can no longer write negative things that your audience might see when they try to reply to you. If he successfully removes the block button, you won't be able to stop these people writing negative things, essentially griefing your post. And it's just going to lead to more destruction on Twitter, more chaos, more hate speech, less advertisers, less money for the company, and that money could be used to write and program this Everything app. As Victoria said, other companies like Facebook and Snapchat are on their way towards an Everything app, and they're not going to have these problems, which Elon Musk seems entirely self-inflicted. He's shot himself in the foot here many times, and I don't know why. Dan, Eve, what do you think? Would you use the Everything app, and do you think Elon Musk is on his way to making one?
Well, he's definitely on his way. That seems like his goal, right? He said that flat out that he wants the kind of Everything app. I'm not sure. I wouldn't use the kind of crypto functions because I prefer holding my own keys, and unless sort of Twitter, well, I still wouldn't use it anyway. But unless they provide the option, right, to have it be a non-custodial wallet, but I don't see it going that way. It seems like it could go the WeChat way, which would be really bad, especially if that gives the government more control over people's money. Essentially, we go back down that social credit route, right? You said something mean to someone on Twitter, so your credits are being taken away. You can't spend your money now and get your loaf of bread. But I think at the same time as there's been a lot of drama, obviously, over him with Twitter, but it very much seems down the political lines of how well you think he's how well Twitter's actually doing. Obviously, for creators, it seems like he's opened up quite a new opportunity for them where they weren't being paid on Twitter, and then they're now able to get cash in on that. So he's, from the creators' perspective, he's managed to make them quite happy, and it sounds like he's trying to kind of beat the YouTube rates as well. And so the one thing that I think is actually quite cool is the allowing longer videos, but he's definitely rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way. And actually, if he'd have done things a bit more diplomatically rather than kind of quite arrogantly going around things, like bowling in there with the toilet and stuff like that. Not some people thought it was funny, but he pissed off a lot of people that are Twitter users since 2010 and prior. So he could have just tackled it slightly differently and then had both people on his side, but he did go down the political route. He rubbed up a lot of people the wrong way, ruffled a lot of feathers, and I'm surprised he even got a license, because he doesn't really have a favorable reputation in like the Congress at the moment, right? And then the EU, they've sent various warnings saying, oh, these Twitter platforms and hate speech, you've got to control it, because otherwise we'll come down on you like a ton of bricks. So he's obviously not going around that the right way. You'd expect him to be a bit more diplomatic along those lines, but we'll see if he's laying his bed and sleeping in it.
There's even a concern that if he removes the block button from Twitter, that he could be removed from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, because there's no way to block hate speech. So I agree, Dan. He's in quite a lot of trouble. It's mostly self-inflicted. I'm not sure why he's doing it. Once again, I would refer everyone, I don't have the link handy, but I would ask you to read that fantastic article from a few weeks ago talking about X.com and comparing it to WeChat, the very popular Chinese app. The Chinese app developed first through networking and messaging. So it's similar to Twitter, but it was more about personal messaging, and it was the kind of thing that the Chinese couldn't quit. Grandma, auntie, their cousin, everyone was on WeChat, so they couldn't quit. Then WeChat added in the shopping function, the wallet function, and of course the Chinese government supported this as a potential eavesdropping and social credit type function as well. But if you look at it, all of these things came together and everyone became locked into this app, but it was because of the network effect of messaging. Twitter, sending these short messages, getting updates and other information from famous people or museums or weather services or these kind of things, I don't think it's quite the same. I don't think it has the same stickiness as messaging. And I think he's going to have a hard time building the everything app, especially in a varied environment like the US or Europe, where they aren't so much locked into one app as the Chinese are. I think it was kind of a unique situation that created WeChat, and he doesn't quite have those forces moving around X.com, but we'll see what happens. Moving on, check out worldcryptonetwork.com, where on this day, August 31st, 2014, Mad Potcoins had a tribute to Hal Finney. In 2015, Transmission 46 with Theo Goodman talked about Bitcoin XT, art, and memes, and Reddit. In 2016, Future Rant and Gabriel Devine interviewed Vinay Gupta talking about cypherpunks. In 2017, we had a Today in Bitcoin episode talking about gas stations that should accept Bitcoin, and it's still true to this day. In 2018, Andy Hoffman had an interview with Michael Kruger on his one-on-one show. In 2019, we had the Bitcoin Talk Show live, and now here we are in 2023. Check out these videos and more on worldcryptonetwork.com. Moving on to issue 3. Issue 3, Robinhood's crypto wallet adds Bitcoin and Dogecoin. The company is also beginning to roll out Ethereum swaps. Robinhood, whose wallet had previously featured mostly Ethereum-type options, such as ERC20 tokens and others, can now send and receive Bitcoin and Doge for some reason. Its 6-month-year-old wallet has hundreds of thousands of users spread across 140 countries. Victoria Jones, what do you think about Robinhood adding Bitcoin and Doge for some reason?
I didn't know they didn't have them on there. I mean, I've not used Robinhood, but it makes logical sense that they add all the assets that are available onto their platform. I mean, the thing is, I think we're at an interesting point in crypto's development where there are a lot of projects that some people are scathing of and some people are very enthusiastic about. Obviously, we believe that it's all going to converge on Bitcoin, but the rest of the world hasn't figured that out yet. And in order to figure it out, I suppose they need access to some of these tokens in order to try it out. I mean, it's all part of the evolution of the whole system. So, yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they didn't have them on already, but, now they do. And let the games begin.
Well, I do think for some clarification that Robinhood was allowing you to trade Bitcoin and Dogecoin, but now they're allowing you to presumably send and receive to act as a wallet, which hilariously Coinbase was so upset about years ago. They're like, Coinbase is not a wallet. Don't use Coinbase as a wallet. And now, just as Robinhood has a wallet program, Coinbase keeps advertising to me about the Coinbase wallet program that I could go check out. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Robinhood, the stock market trading app, adding Bitcoin and Dogecoin to their wallet?
Yeah, it's kind of about time. Yeah, I knew that you could trade on it, but wasn't aware that you couldn't. But send Bitcoin and Dogecoin, but you could Ethereum and Ethereum tokens, which seems pretty crazy, right? The fact that that they make an app, especially a big mainstream app that wasn't a non-crypto start actual company, adds Ethereum before it adds Bitcoin, just seems very strange. It's very backwards, but at least they're adding it now. The fact that they've added Dogecoin, I mean, love it or hate it, it is quite funny. I mean, I don't have any Dogecoin, sadly, because I like some Dogecoin, but it's been quite stable, right? Dogecoin's been like the stable coin, probably more than the dollar at the moment. That it's still floating around like 6.7 cents or something. So maybe the fact that it's kind of it's a bit less volatile. Obviously, it's down from its huge peak of like 80 cents, but maybe because of the fact that it's less volatile, they're sort of adding it now. And it's one of those coins that, love it or hate it, it's going to be around for a long while. Like Dogecoin, as much as you be a maximalist, but in the bottom of your heart, even though you absolutely hate the others, Dogecoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum are going to be there for the long haul. And maybe so is, say, Bitcoin Cash. That's why it's been added to the Fidelity exchange that they're building, right? The ESX. They chose Bitcoin Cash. So yeah, it's still obviously in some people's hearts Dogecoin, but at least people can actually send and receive Bitcoin now. But obviously, better just keep your own coins, right? Buy them from an exchange and then transfer them to your own wallet for safety.
It's not that I have something against Dogecoin. I just wish they had spent the time they used engineering that to add the Lightning Network, which is an actual payments network, an actual technology project, more than just kind of a one-off joke with the Doge on it. And it just seems sad that they continuously are pulling people through the mud to support this project, to lose their money, and then to disappoint them with bad technology. You can't just copy a coin, put a Doge on it. Like, it was designed as a joke. It remains a joke. I think that Robinhood and other companies just want to make money off the fees. They just want to fleece you Doges. They want to take advantage of it. So, you can be mad at me, you can be mad at them, but I don't think the Doge would want you to be mad. He would want you to be glad and much happy. I think the Doge has passed away recently, so sad farewell to the original Doge, but obviously the meme will live on. Moving on to issue 4. Issue 4, green Bitcoin mining. Nodal Power secures $13 million for landfill gas conversion. The Utah-based Nodal Power, which specializes in turning landfill gas into energy for powering Bitcoin mining hubs, recently announced a successful $13 million seed round backed by strategic investors. Brian Black, the Nodal CEO, stressed the technology's potential to make a significant impact on local energy markets. Dan, Eve, what do you think about Nodal Power actually using landfill gas and other waste products to create energy to mine Bitcoin?
Again, it's being resourceful around power sources, and if you've got this gas that's going to be escaping, they don't say which gas it is, but I'm assuming it's probably like methane, right? And if that's going to be just leaking out into the atmosphere, why not trap it and use it to actually do something, which is mine Bitcoin? So all these projects are really, really cool. We've seen a lot of them recently, like home projects with people, and for a long while, heating their houses and heating their swimming pools. These are really cool kind of concepts that are they're all making their rounds at the moment. So, and as humanity kind of progresses, we see these different ways that we can trap the waste of something and turn it into something else. You know, like a real efficient factory doesn't have any waste at all. They'll use that waste to produce another product in some way, even if it's not related to the thing that it's actually producing. And we're seeing that with energy, especially now that energy can be monetized so easily. You know, years ago, you could only pretty much sell your power back to the grid. You know, it would be difficult to actually sell your power independently to small companies or whatever, if you're just like a guy with a waterfall thing. But now you can mine Bitcoin with it. If you've got a river flowing through your backyard, you can get power off that and power a Bitcoin miner. So I really like the resourcefulness that's coming out, and it's also flying in the face of this this whole thing of Bitcoin only boils the oceans. Yeah, it uses a lot of excess energy, but it also promotes a lot of resourcefulness and innovation in terms of power generation and capturing sources of fuel or energy, of fuel that can be turned into an energy, and then mining Bitcoin.
It is interesting, Dan. Perhaps the Americans will become finally like the Native Americans who famously used every part of the buffalo. We'll start to use the methane and everything else. It says in the article that the methane is produced from gas emissions from landfills, and it uses that energy for mining. They combust the methane, typically flared or vented with a generator. The resulting electricity is then provided to local utilities and Bitcoin mining operations. So it is a fascinating operation that they do to get the methane from the landfills, using garbage to generate power and energy. Amazing, just like Back to the Future. Victoria Jones, what do you think about the methane mining technology and that they're using it for Bitcoin?
Yeah, I mean, I've never really understood the big fuss people make about the whole issue of Bitcoin requiring a lot of energy, because the most logical argument to my way of thinking is, well, surely that's just going to incentivize more efficient ways of creating energy. And, there are a lot of people who argue that, not, having a good energy source is one of the few things that holds back or allows progress of humanity. And so, what better way to incentivize, creating new forms of energy? I mean, that's the most logical conclusion that I can kind of think of. And this is just another example of it. So, yeah, great idea. Whatever it takes, make use of, find a way to make it useful. And, Bitcoin seems to surprise us over and over again with the different ways in which it's coming up with that. And I hope gradually these arguments about the Bitcoin requiring too many energy sources will eventually be overcome by all of the new innovations that will actually come about, and the fact that Bitcoin requires a lot of energy. And in the process, who knows, someone could create an amazing new innovation for creating energy, which would benefit us in all sorts of other ways. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what comes of it.
In some ways, Bitcoin reminds me of that old show, Wacky Races, where all the race cars are going in different directions. But like you say, they're all trying to find unused power. They're trying to find new ways to get methane out of the garbage, or to get free electricity from the Russian government, or whatever the truth may be, to try to, get those extra sats and to mine them for cheaper. It's just a quest to get that golden egg. So many people see it and they're like, if only I had power and energy, I could mine Bitcoin. And they'll do anything to mine it. Moving on to issue 5. Issue 5, Bitcoin's most loyal holders continue accumulation despite price lull. Long-term holders continue to accumulate Bitcoin with 40% unmoved in more than 3 years, an all-time high for that metric. Victoria Jones, what do you think? The Bitcoiners are holding on to Bitcoin despite the 50% or more price drop and the recent 10% price drop. What do you think this means for the future of Bitcoin? And of course, as everyone's asking at home, the price, the price, the price.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. I think really it's probably highly correlated to those who fully understand what Bitcoin is and what it achieves. And of course, we're still in the early days of that. It's a difficult thing to understand. You need to understand many different subjects to truly get it. Even those who do get it often had to spend quite a long time studying it before they fully understood. And I think the ones that do fully understand, they're like, I'm not giving this up for anything. And the more people that understand, the more the network grows and the more people hold on to it. The other thing I remember from that article is that there seemed to be a lot of people starting to make leverage bets to the downside, which I always think is a bit of a contrarian indicator to it then popping to the upside. So, that seems to be healthy on the horizon. Although I do notice today that after the recent pump, the price has climbed down again. So who knows? I mean, the thing is, we're in a stage of Bitcoin's price cycle that's notoriously quiet. There isn't that much news in terms of the price cycle, and so even a little blip up and down, creates a talking point. But as we know, anyone who's been around long enough knows this is a notoriously quiet period, and so yeah, we just huddle on and get on with the rest of our lives because 4 years is quite a long time, really, in terms of the whole life cycle. And if you just spend your life waiting for the next time Bitcoin has a pop in the price, you're going to miss most of your life. So most people are just kind of getting on with it, stacking sats, and just waiting for the next phase, really.
Well, and we can report, although this isn't financial advice, if you read to the end of the Coindesk article, it says, data even suggests that crypto futures and option traders are positioning for a bearish market in the coming months, with Bitcoin prices expected to reach as low as $22,000 or more than a 15% drop from current levels. Dan, what do you think about the news that the hodlers are hodling harder than ever before, but there could be even another 15% drop?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I caught up with a few friends earlier on this year who I finally convinced to get into Bitcoin, and they kind of said, and these are kind of general investors, right? They like the stock market. They're happy with shares, tanking after like a bad earnings result or whatever. But with Bitcoin moving 20%, it freaks them out, and so they pulled out of their position. I'm like, man, you just need to hold for that little bit longer. If you don't need that, and the worst thing is they didn't even need the money, like they're wealthy people. So I was really quite surprised by that because the whole thing when I've been talking about is as much as Bitcoin has gone incredibly had exponential growth in terms of price. It's still a long-term asset. It's not something that you can just buy and expect it's going to be 50% up the next week. I think those days are kind of gone now, unfortunately. The Bitcoin's becoming less and less volatile. As Victoria said, we've been kind of in flatlining territory, right? The volatility is a 4-year low. But people can't get it, especially the new people coming to Bitcoin. They can't get it into their head that it is a lot of them jump in without learning about the context of Bitcoin and about inflation and that side of the monetary policies. They jump in thinking about this quick gain, and that's when they don't get that. And I think I see a bit of a pattern of people not gaining on Bitcoin pulling out and then going, right, I'm going to try something like, I don't know, Flappy Coin, because I need to make up my losses from Bitcoin. So it'd be interesting to find out how many of those who've sold their Bitcoin actually moved on to other currencies to try and, almost like a casino, right? Making back your losses. You're like, oh, I've lost a bunch on roulette. Maybe I'll be luckier on this slot machine. I can make some money back. So it obviously moves back and forth between hands. The long-term wallets are the ones that still accumulate. They know full well that there's an accumulation phase before the halvening. We're still, we're 6-7 months away now. So it's really not far at all. Whilst I did, like, earlier on in the year, think, oh, maybe we could have a drop to like the sort of 12K level. I can't see that ever happening now, and even dropping to 22K just seems a bit. It seems far fetched now. We're too close to the halvening, right? With all these spot ETFs, it's different this time, right? It's different, they said.
Well, if it did drop to 22K, my first thought was I'd buy that. So if everyone else had that same thought, it would drive right back up and it would be 22K for maybe a few hours. I would say, Dan, it's a little better if we're going sideways rather than flatlining. Flatline's what's happened when you die and your heartbeat stops beeping. So hopefully the Bitcoin isn't flatlining, but we'll see how it goes. Let's move on to the exit question. Will the price of Bitcoin be higher this time next week? Victoria Jones, keeping in mind that you are competing against the online Bitcoin Magic 8 Ball, the source of all truth and knowledge.
Yeah, I'm starting to think at some point it's really going to start picking up pace. So I'm going to go with higher.
Dan, Eve, higher or lower?
Oh, maybe I'm on a streak, because I think I said higher last week and it's 0.38% up on the last 7 days. So I'm going to go for up again, just because I'd like to see some green.
Up again last week. I think the ball predicted up. It was a very surprising prediction, went against a lot of people's thoughts, but that's the way the Magic 8 Ball goes. It has a mind of its own. It doesn't care about your triangles. Here we go. Ask the Magic 8 Ball, will the Bitcoin price be higher this time next week? Outlook, not so good. Outlook, not so good. The ball has spoken. Not so good. You can't always get what you want, but sometimes if you try, you can get what you need, right? Let's move on to predictions or story of the week. I'll give Dan a chance to think of his story of the week, and I'll talk about my story of the week, which is I tried out an interesting new AI program called Opus Clip. I wish I had the website here open to talk about it, but Opus Clip created 30 different clips from last week's show with no instruction at all. It created the clips completely randomly. Then I uploaded the clips into YouTube Shorts, and I just wanted to see what would happen. It was a very interesting result. There were about 30 different clips. One of them got 2.9 thousand views. Another one got 1.7 thousand. This is all with no promotion, no Twitter links or anything like that. And most of them are pretty much ridiculous. A lot of them focus on Dan and I talking here about SBF's desire for vegan food in prison, my joke about potatoes not being vegan, which is a bit of a joke. It's also a bit of a reality when people start adding things like sour cream or bacon bits or cheese to their potatoes, or butter, which is pretty often they become not vegan. So it's a bit of a thing, but it's also just a non sequitur, right? A random funny joke at the time. But the way the computer recut it, it doesn't land very well. But it's very interesting. We got a lot of comments. We got a lot of feedback. I might try to focus the computer to create better clips next week. It also put text on top of the clips, highlighting important words in colors. And you guys can try this software for free. Opus Clip, I think it was called, Opus AI, something like that. And of course, if you want to use it more, you have to pay them money. So I'll have to look into that. But it's a very interesting idea to try to use the YouTube Shorts, maybe even to promote people to subscribe to this show and to watch this show. But for now, I think they're just watching really weird 30-second clips of us talking. Dan, Eve, did you get to see any of the clips? What do you think?
I did, yeah. I saw the vegan one. I was like, oh, that's quite cool. So this app did it automatically, did it? It just chopped them up
Yeah, it
and
did the whole thing. It chopped
oh,
up the clips, it put the words on the screen, highlighted the colors. It
mhm.
took a while, but again, as far as a human being, I didn't really interact with it very much at all. I just said, "Hey, here's a YouTube video, clip it up."
That is cool. Yeah, it's had some good feedback by the looks of some of the comments. So that's yeah, a welcome little addition to the WCN portfolio library.
Oh, we'll have to see. Maybe we'll try it for a couple months. We'll see what the subscription options are. Dan, Eve, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Oh, blimey. Yeah, I still didn't. I was too busy thinking about clips, shorts, but wearing shorts, not YouTube shorts, because I'm running out of shorts. Anyway, forget fleas. No, that's the only thing I've got is fleas. News of the week. Dogs have got fleas. I know it's non-crypto related. Like shitcoins, you can't get rid of them. They literally you can wash everything, fumigate everything, smoke bombs, and god damn it, they still come back. So it's bi-daily wash twice a day, flea pills, fumigating stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a war zone here. It's literally a flea war zone. So yeah, good luck to anyone else who's got fleas. No, I don't have fleas, but as in the dogs. So, but I probably have fleas now, to be fair.
Well, it sounds like you're doing all the stuff they suggest, Dan. I know we get the either the little pills for the dog that makes the fleas go off of them, but much like you say, they're still in the environment. They're in your carpet. They're in your lawn. They're in the dirt. They're all over the place. And even if you do give them the flea pill, sometimes they come back with fleas in a couple of weeks, just the same. Let's go to Victoria Jones. Do you have a prediction or a story of the week? Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say, yeah, I've seen the little clips. I think they're very good, actually. I think, when our conversations are often averaging about an hour long, I think it's a good way of kind of giving people just a snippet of what the conversation is, and it might draw them in and encourage them to watch the longer conversations. So, yeah, I thought they were great. As soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, we have progress. So I thought that was great. Story of the week. Well, I've been in France for 2 weeks, so there's not been much related going on with me. But on my website, before I left, I updated the latest newsletter, which is about Bitcoin and what was it called? I can't even remember the name of my own newsletter. Yes, it was about the South Sea bubble. So extending on the idea of how fractional reserve banking began with the Bank of England, I've then gone on to talk about how that introduction then led to share trading and the scandal that was the South Sea bubble. So I found that quite interesting to write, and I'm sure a few people will find that interesting to read. So yeah, if you go to my website, satoshipage.com, Bitcoin and the South Sea bubble, that's worth a few minutes of your time just to figure that out. And if you want to be updated with my other new newsletters, then in the future, then by all means, there's a place to sign up at the bottom where you can be notified when the next one comes out, probably end of September for the next one.
Very cool, Victoria. Sounds like a great article. Always fun to read about the South Sea bubble and especially the horrible troubles that Isaac Newton had. I can always remember the chart. It's a popular internet meme in my Bitcoin addled mind, but it's something like, Newton invests, the price goes up. Newton sells, very happy. Newton's friends become billionaires. Newton is unhappy, reinvests. Price goes down. Newton is very unhappy. Price goes down all the way. Newton loses all his money, lives in poverty forever. It's a tragic story, but at the time they didn't know about bubbles. They didn't know that things could go up and come back down and have irrational value for a short amount of time. It was really one of the first bubbles, so it's quite an interesting historical event. But we're almost to the.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mean, and especially when you relate it to Bitcoin and all the discussions, because of course the tulip bubble happened before the South Sea bubble. But again, the history connected with that is very interesting. It's worth people who are interested in Bitcoin learning about that. Sorry, carry on.
It definitely is. And the tulip bubble is also a very fascinating bubble. And interestingly enough, I was just going to say that I'm in Amsterdam this week. We're heading up towards the end of the MAD tour. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here in Amsterdam, then I'm heading to London, and then I'm flying home to Las Vegas. So we'll probably do about one more week of these Thursday shows. Then we'll go back to Friday shows and try to schedule guests again and get into a more regular schedule as I'll be at home again. So thanks to everybody for dealing with us out here on the road on a different day. Thanks to Victoria for joining us from France via iPod or iPad and radio and all the different things. Shout out to Ben Ark. He's on his way to the Honey Badger Conference in Riga, Latvia. It's a great conference. Shout out to anybody that's going there. I hope you guys have a great weekend at Honey Badger Conference. And keep your eyes out for Paraleni Polis coming up in the next few weeks in Prague. HCPP, if you guys can make it down there. Another great Bitcoin, privacy, computer software hacking conference. Great place to go. Great crew to hang out with down there. So thanks to everybody for joining us. Be sure to give us a thumbs up down below and subscribe. Add us a comment. Go check out those crazy YouTube shorts. We'll try to work with the AI to make them better this week and see if we can subscribe to that or send them some money or something. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.